Today we're talking about episode 6 of Ahsoka Far, Far Away, the return of Thrawn, the return of Ezra, and news on the block is we're apparently getting a Lando Calrissian movie. All that and more here on Chatooine. All right, we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to Chatooine. If you guys are watching this on my channel, Star Wars Only, please subscribe to the Chatooine channel. We are at 399 subs. Need one more to reach 400 on the road to 1,000. So thank you guys for checking that channel out. If you guys have subscribed in the past couple weeks, check us out on Instagram, on Twitter, on Discord. We have a TikTok now. Chatooine is going everywhere. We're blowing up. We're hitting the mainstream.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, the biggest. Some say the best, and I would never say the other podcasts are worse or not as good as ours. I would never say. They say that, but I don't say that.
We're the best podcast. We're the biggest podcast. Some say we're the best podcast that's ever been done. We've done it better than any other
it's gonna podcast. Be great.
Some say we even invented the podcast.
We're going to build a firewall. It's going to be the greatest firewall ever. And Lucasfilm's going to pay for it. Believe me.
As long as we don't go too far in a few places.
Oh, that'll happen.
Well, that always happens. That happens every stream. We should add that to our little video shit so we can play that, because that used to be a staple here on chat.
That was a staple. That and the it's gonna be great. We need those back.
Yeah, I love that one. Oh my god, I can't tell you. I have a friend who's not the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, but me and him love George Lucas memes. So he'll always say like random shit like that. Like we had a joke about him filming Attack of the Clones with Anakin in that emotional scene where he's like, "Oh, I don't like sand," and we would be like, "Oh yeah," imagine George in the background being like, "Hey, touch your back, Hayden. That's hot." Like
George Lucas has reached a status where like anything he can do just will turn into a meme. Like him walking in the background of a documentary, it's a meme.
That was huge too. That was huge. Probably the biggest documentary of all time.
That was great. Yeah.
So we have a brand new episode of Ahsoka titled Far, Far Away. And this, to me, I mean, we're going to do what we normally do. We'll go around the little table here and we'll talk about our initial opinions on the episode. So to start us out, I think this is the best episode of Ahsoka. When I think of like Star Wars stories, this really felt like a mini Star Wars movie contained into like 46 minutes to an hour, however long this episode was. It was great. I mean, start to finish, I was hooked. I was intrigued. I liked the way they did the return of Thrawn. I like the way we had Ezra coming back. I do think that one wasn't as emotionally satisfying as some people were looking for. But overall, I really am satisfied with this episode. The start with Ahsoka and the Purrgil and Huyang, they're going to this new planet in this new galaxy. The fact that it is a new galaxy, but we get a little bit of lore with it, that it's not like completely unknown. You get some more lore with like Dathomir witches, and then you have Balin and Shin doing great. Sabine was great in this episode. Thrawn stole the entire show, in my opinion. But this, to me, is peak Star Wars. I mean, this is just absolute peak Star Wars. And it's sad that he's gone, because he's not going to hear me actually be happy about a Star Wars project in a long time. This was perfect to me. This was perfect. This was better than pretty much every episode, if not every episode of Mandalorian Season 3. This was better than every Ahsoka episode that came before it. And this is a 10 out of 10 for me. Highly recommend. Could not be happier with this episode. We don't have Lunga to come following in after me, so we'll just go as usual clockwise. Pap memes. What do you think about this most recently?
Finally, I get to speak. No, I like what you said, that this is easily better than anything from season 3 of Mando and all that. I would argue it's better than pretty much almost everything Star Wars Disney Plus we've gotten so far. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I want to talk quickly about Huyang at the beginning, because I was just thinking about it. He talks about the 3 parts of the story, and to me, that, I mean, it's my own interpretation, but the 3 parts of the Star Wars story, part 1 is going to be Dawn of the Jedi, which is James Mangold's film, if that happens, or whatever they do with that story. Part 2 is going to be the sort of old Republic era of Star Wars, Sith Civil War, Mandalorian, Jedi, all that stuff. And then part 3 of Huyang's Jedi story is obviously the current timeline, that being the Skywalker saga. I personally have interpreted it that way. But I really did enjoy this episode. It definitely felt like it drug on a little bit. I'm not saying that in a negative way. It's just clear that a lot of things were kind of stretched out, and I'm fine with that. The Thrawn chants from those, what do they call those? Night troopers? Is that what they're called?
That's what the subtitle said. Yeah.
Yeah, night troopers. I love that Thrawn chant that they were doing. Thrawn looks good. I'm not one to speak on Thrawn. As I said in the last Chatooine episode, I have unfortunately not gotten around to reading the Thrawn books, which I know are kind of the peak standard for Star Wars. So I won't be commenting basically on how his, the way he was perceived and everything, how he was in the show, because I don't know too much about him. But for what I did get, he was great. He was intimidating. He was very sophisticated, which I know is a part of his character. Wow, this just messed me up.
So, sorry, I misclicked.
No, you're good. I would rate this episode. I'd rate it an 8.5 out of 10. It wasn't perfect for me personally. I think episodes 4 and 5 still take my favorite place, but this is definitely in third place.
Cool. All right. I'll just say this, like off the bat, I am shocked how much praise this episode is getting. Like for me, it was a fine stepping stone episode. Like not every episode in every series is going to be great. Not every scene in the best movies ever made are like historically great scenes. In order to have great stuff, some other stuff that's not bad, but not great either needs to happen. And to me, this was just a fine stepping stone episode that did a lot of cool things. But I didn't like, I am shocked to hear you, Star Wars Only, say this was like a 10 out of 10 episode. Like, I'm just baffled. I thought you would criticize member berries and whatnot, and we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, this was a 7 out of 10. Like, had some good moments. But I just thought it was like a fine stepping stone episode. And Papa Memes, I have a completely different interpretation of the Huyang scene, but we can get to that.
Okay. We'll get to that later. Yeah.
You don't get to use the word member berries for this episode if you're not going to say the last
You are
episode
banned from using the word member berries from now on.
No, I am the member berries king.
You are
says
overusing it now. You have beat it into a dead horse.
I'll be honest, Star Wars Only, I think a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away was the biggest member berries of the series so far. Like the biggest wink to the fans. Oh, you
arguably. And that was great too.
Back as Anakin is not the biggest.
No, that's not a member berry. That's part of the story. That's essential to the story of Ahsoka Tano.
What's the first frame in Star Wars history?
I said that. He doesn't listen.
The first frame in Star Wars history is the 20th Century Fox, and then it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It's the second thing we've ever seen in Star Wars. That predates Hayden by 25 years.
This is how important. I will show one little clip, so you guys can understand, because it's kind of important. This was from episode 1, guys. When we were reviewing episode 1, when Papa Memes couldn't join us. Awesome. But you got this galaxy. I mean, they're like, it's a far fucking galaxy, man. Like far galaxy, far, far away, right? Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Lunga's a member berry now.
Okay. Now, am I a member berry?
Like poetry, right?
Yeah. Darth Daddy member berry, honestly.
Okay, so Lunga, we've gotten my take on the episode. Palpa Memes, Goldman. How do you feel about this episode? Far, far away.
I'm there with you. It's a 10 of 10. Very few things could I find flaws with. I mean, and any flaws I did find they're nitpicks. Again, I'm honest when I know it's a nitpick. If it's a nitpick, I say it's a nitpick. But yeah, it nitpicks, and most of it were just like how Thrawn looked. I don't understand. Lars Mikkelsen is a thin, lithe man. Why did he look chunky in that uniform? I don't understand.
Lunga. I saw some people on Twitter getting mad at that complaint.
Yeah. Because it's body shaming?
Yeah, that's what they're calling
can't body shame it if fucking Lars Mikkelsen isn't big. Okay, he's a thin man.
Yeah, he's been fed well on that planet. The far distant galaxy has a lot of good food.
So no, I doubt he gained weight. I don't know what happened. And his hair, all he had to do was put some grease in there. It looked like a helmet.
He's stressed. Okay, his hairline's receding. He's stressed.
I don't know what was going on.
You should teach him how to dye his hair.
But I mean, but again, that's like a nitpick. It was just. But overall, it was okay. The voice was great. The way he talked was great. I hear a lot of people still complain about how too much focus on Sabine. She's the most boring character. I like Sabine. I don't understand what's so boring about her.
Agreed.
Wait. I understand. I know why. She's a woman. There you go. That's why she's boring. So they just can't stand it because she's a woman.
Star Wars only doesn't really like her.
The only woman that counts is
she's fun to me.
Leia.
I mean,
anyone outside of Leia is boring.
No,
he
hates
hates
Shin,
okay. Nick. It's the Goldman. He hates Shin. That's who he hates.
Oh, she's just doesn't talk. I don't hate her. All right. You think any female character that there is in Star Wars, I have a hate for. I only hate how much Ahsoka.
You want me to pull up?
That's it.
Where you said I hate Shin? Because I know you said it. At some point.
We need to start keeping receipts. Like hard receipts.
But no, the episode was fantastic, and like you said, I agree. It really felt like Star Wars, and not like when we watched Mando's, it had that Star Wars feel, right? For especially season 1. This, it felt like I was watching one of the original trilogy movies. I mean, that's how much of a Star Wars feel it gave me. And I knew it was going to be mostly with Balin and Sabine and Morgan, which was great. And the way they're introducing this new, newish lore, which kind of fits, which I also predict that this is the Dathomiri homeworld, and they're bringing in something new that was still kind of there, but they're expanding the lore with it, which is going to be really cool. And we're still like on the edge of the seat. What is Balin looking for? What is he out here looking for? And it's a big deal. And Goldman got it right too. He mentioned that there was something there, and they were loading something onto those ships that is important to Thrawn for something, and he made a deal with them. So yeah, the episode was just great. I have very few complaints about it.
Yeah, I want to use the word mystical when you talk about that great feel it had. It was very mystical and adventurous, and I think that's a key aspect that Star Wars needs for it to feel like Star Wars is the mysticality of it. There's clearly something. I saw the statue, all the statues and stuff that were on that planet. One of them looked like that Mortis god. Was it just me, or did I kind of see that father-son kind of look with them?
No
go on that.
Like that.
No. So it was like in the background somewhere. Someone posted on Twitter about it, but there's definitely some history with this planet, and I hope we learn more about this planet. I have a theory that perhaps James Mangold's Dawn of the Jedi. I call it Dawn of the Jedi, by the way. That's just my current name.
That's what they've officially labeled the era, so it's not a.
Is that what they call? Okay, yeah, that's right. But anyways, yeah, I have a suspicion that that Dawn of the Jedi story take place similarly on this planet, maybe just within this galaxy. I mean, is this really where the start of the Jedi were from? I think it's possible that they're setting that up.
No, I don't know. I think it would be really weird to create a Jedi Order in a completely separate galaxy that the Jedi are known for. I like the mysteriousness about this galaxy. I like how there's some lore about it and the way Balin talks about it, how it's just, fairy tales and everything like that.
Yoda came from another galaxy. We're pretty sure Yoda came from another galaxy.
We have no.
There's no confirmation
on that stuff.
Confirmed, but I kind of like it. I agree with Only. I like that questionnaire aspect. We can interpret it. I personally believe he did, even though it's not confirmed. That's my thought.
The second we add another galaxy to this equation, it does get really complex. So I do like the idea that, the Jedi and the Sith, they all originated from our galaxy that we know of. And then, the Dathomir sisters came from this other galaxy. And it's nice that we know that there are other galaxies, because let's be honest, it would be kind of stupid if, you ask the Jedi Council about other galaxies and they're like, what are you talking about? We're the only thing around. So it's nice to get some exploration into it, but I also like how grounded this was. And when me and Lunga are talking about how this kind of feels like the original Star Wars, the original trilogy stuff, I think this being a new galaxy, this being a new place for someone like Sabine to explore and kind of unknown what's happening out here, I think that really fit well for this episode and is what made it so good. The little alien guy who was like a rock and all that stuff, and then the rest of them are doing the same thing. That stuff is cute. That stuff is really cute.
The crabs,
the noti. Yeah, I thought that stuff is what really makes us feel like I'm watching a Star Wars movie all over again. And I mean, just was a great episode.
There was one little thing. I wouldn't call it a member berry, but it was just why they got to make the bandits sound like Tusken Raiders? They sounded exactly like the fucking Tusken. Oh yeah, watch it again. Listen to their grunts and their sounds. It's just like they used, the audio of Tusken Raiders for them.
I don't know. It's a iconic way to grunt.
I didn't notice
That little reverb.
I didn't pick up on it, but maybe.
The biggest part of this episode naturally is Thrawn. And I do want to get to this question from our boy Zach Briggs. Thank you for the super chat saying, what do you guys think about the social media barrage of criticism about Fat Thrawn? I didn't even know people were calling him that. People say the Elon Musk looking chiss doesn't come across as visually intimidating. I can understand a little bit where the covenant. I mean, he's been gone for years. It's been like, what, 10, 15 years since we've seen this guy. I mean,
there's no gym on this planet. Come on.
Yeah.
No, remember Thrawn?
No, listen, Thrawn, again, if you know anything about Thrawn, he's a physical specimen. Because he's not only, again, people need to read the books to know this. He's not only a tactical genius, he's also extremely well trained in hand-to-hand combat.
He was in Rebels too.
Yeah, I was in Rebels. Yeah, and the way he escaped the planet was because he was living like a wild man and doing Rambo stuff out in the jungle and stuff. And what? He spends 10 years in this other galaxy and he gets fat because he's just eating rations on his chimera the whole time.
10 years is a long time.
No, they sound like they had it tough, okay? Because he talks about how their numbers have dwindled. I think the first couple of years weren't as peaceful as it came across. I think there was a lot of conflict that happened. And
Probably.
if you look at his night troopers, there was some kind of conversion happening because they were like Night Sister acolytes because they had all the red straps on and even the imagery with the gold masks and stuff. It looked like there was some kind of integration of this religion where they were stranded out here for 10 years with the Night Sisters too. So it doesn't, the Fat Thrawn doesn't, it, again, I don't think here's the thing. I don't think it was purposely done, number one. And I don't think Lars Mikkelsen is that big. I just think it was bad wardrobe choices. I just think they didn't. Honestly, that's what I think happened.
I couldn't care less. Like,
as
long as he's not visibly fat, which he's not. Like, okay, he's got a little belly. Oh no! Like, I do not think we're gonna see Thrawn fist fighting in any of the shows.
No.
So.
And if we do, then I'm mentally gonna check out.
This is like show. This is. I'll give the Star Wars fandom credit. Like, shit is good when this is one of the biggest complaints. So let's take this time to appreciate that. Like, we're not screaming about like Lizzo and Jack Black. Like, Fat Thrawn's our biggest problem. Like, well, let's appreciate that.
Yeah, I will say
the return of him was. Go ahead, Palpatine.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, it's not like a huge problem for me. I mean, again, I agree with Goldman. 10 years is a long freaking time, but I agree with you, Lunga. It is valid. Okay. Your criticism is valid, right? I think they could have maybe done some CGI to his face to give him more of that alien look. He looks good. Guys, don't get me wrong. Okay. Hear me out. He looks good. I like the way he looks, but in a lot of cases, he just comes across as a human with blue paint on his face.
But that's what just look like. Just look like humans with blue faces. Literally, that's it. They don't have different features.
The cartoons, any novel with him, any artwork with him, any canon artwork, he's got pretty defined facial features. But again,
Rebels is the only one that gave him that goofy forehead. Okay, that was in Rebels.
The only thing they had to nail with this was the red eyes, and they did. Yeah. Like, you look at Ezra, the blue eyes, it's a little too much, it sticks out a little bit. But with Thrawn's red eyes, it completely fits his character, who he is. It fits the live action appeal. I think he looks great. But aside from him and the way he looks, what did you guys think about his return, his entrance? Because I thought that was probably the highlight of the episode. Because I thought, no, we're not going to get him to
classic organ.
Yeah, and then you hear all the troopers saying, Thrawn. That was so fucking cool. And he doesn't come out in like some corny little thing and be like, it's time for the heir to the Empire. No. He just comes out and he's just like, oh, this is going to suck for everybody else. Welcome back, bitches.
I love his first line. It was like, what was once a dream now is a what was it?
Like a frightful reality for our enemies,
yeah,
or something like that.
He's like, what was once a dream is now a reality for those who oppose us for something. That was a badass line.
Very much so. And the way his troopers lined up for it, when me and Lunga say earlier of like feeling like the original trilogy, this is how the villains feel. Vader or the Emperor show up and all the stormtroopers line up for them and make such a big dramatic scene. That's what we had here. And the fact that one thing I loved about him is that he's like working with these Dathomir witches and calls them great mothers and everything. And like, he has like a mutual respect for them, but it's clear that they're just working for him. I love that. I love so much about the return of Thrawn.
Well,
there
was some kind of deal. It didn't seem like they were working
Yes.
for him. It seems like they had a deal. And the other thing I really love about it, this is just, being a Thrawn fan, what I really like is they subtly showed, because unlike other leaders in the Empire who ruled with fear and intimidation and stuff like that, Thrawn commanded the respect of his troops, and they loved him. They wanted to serve for him. It was like those old Roman generals, you know what I mean, that they were like would die for him, you know what I mean? And most stormtroopers, they weren't like saying, I'm here to die for the Emperor. They were just like, it's a job, and it's like they had to do what they had to do, and they had to follow orders, or else you're gonna have Kylo Ren, undercover boss, come and stab you in the chest.
They have my wife and kids held in the back.
Yeah. But with Thrawn, they legit like respect him, and they will die for him and go to fight for him. And they even being trapped out here, it seemed to even solidify it even more for them. So they are legit honor to Thrawn, and they will do whatever he says and do it to the death. And in that scene, without much, just seeing them and them chanting, you felt that loyalty they had to him, and that was a big deal for me.
Well, do you guys think the stormtroopers have some sort of connection with the Night Sisters and their magic? Because I know there's a lot
100%.
of theories out there that some, I don't know, reanimated
red straps.
stormtroopers. Yeah, exactly.
I don't really want that, though. I don't really want all of them to just be some zombie corpse army. I like the idea that these containers that they're loading into Thrawn's ships, that is like an undead army of Dathomir brothers, sisters, or stormtroopers. But if all of his stormtroopers are just reanimated guys, that gets a little corny to a point where it's like everyone died except for Thrawn.
Well,
exactly.
Who said everyone? Who said everyone?
I agree with that.
But I think a lot of them are made up of it, just for the fact that he said because he did at pause. We've suffered a lot of losses.
But that doesn't have to be like a double meaning.
But did you see their armor? How fucked up their armor was? That's not just like
they don't have good armor cleaning materials for 10 years.
That's not cleaning. They were cracked, broken.
Well,
These guys were going through the ringer. They were going through fighting.
I'm not saying they're not zombies or whatever, but like that was not the first impression I got. Enoch or whatever he is, maybe some like Dathomir witch or whatever. But I don't know. Like it could be that there was nothing like the armor looked badass, but there was nothing like mystical about it. It just reminded me of a legion of troopers that have been gone for 10 years and have kind of been radicalized under Thrawn's rule.
And plus, it makes it more appealing to me that these are all normal human. I don't know if they're all humans, because nowadays stormtroopers are every other kind of species that there is, but that these are all just people who are loyal to Thrawn, that they have been out in this galaxy with this motherfucker for like 10 years, and they have seen people die. And Thrawn has learned, like, look, I don't have a lot of men. I got to keep these guys that I have alive because this is risky. And that's another thing that I thought about watching this episode is like, look, okay, Thrawn's coming back to the galaxy, but he's got to come back with something to challenge the New Republic and even factions of the Empire that might not side with him. Is this one ship of these couple hundred stormtroopers even enough? And I don't think that's the case. And that's where I do think the Dathomir Great Mothers come in, because they are loading things into his ship. And he said as part of the deal. So clearly there's something that the Great Mothers want from this, and they have to go back to the galaxy as well. I just think with this return of Thrawn,
it says it's going to take them 3 cycles to load it all.
Which is what, 3 days? And this
the cycle's a day, basically.
Yeah. Okay, and that kind of works out timeline wise, because the way I see the show going, at least in the next 2 episodes, is the next episode is predominantly just on the same planet, whatever it was called, starts with like a P or Perdia or whatever the fuck. And well, sure, thank you. And so this next episode is just about them, dealing with like Ezra and all this stuff, and the Balin and Shin versus Ezra and Sabine, and then Thrawn's kind of getting his army ready to go back to the main galaxy. And then at episode 8, the finale of the series, he makes the jump back. I don't know who's all with them and everything, but for damn certain, Thrawn is going back to the main galaxy. So I do like the pace that the show has kind of set, at least at the moment. I was a little bit disappointed that we immediately went from one episode to the next episode to another galaxy entirely. I would have liked some time to have passed, but it's whatever. I'm glad that like Ahsoka did not show up at the end of this episode at the same time they did, because then I'd be like, all right, this is fucking ridiculous. This
She's about
hyperspace
to show
stuff
up.
doesn't mean anything. And it's funny to me how this was such a great episode, and Ahsoka was in it for maybe a minute. I think that is funny.
I want to say
Which I also said last week, but I'm trying to understand. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Goldman.
I just wanted to say one more thing about the troopers before I move on, because it's another great reflection of Thrawn as well. Because one thing about the Empire was it was all uniform, right? There's no individuality within the stormtroopers. That's what made stormtroopers different from the clones. And seeing Thrawn's soldiers have a bit, they're not all just white troopers. They have a bunch of
Seems like
styles
there's
to them.
battalions with them.
Yeah, that's reflective of Thrawn's personality, the art, and I guess the style of the stormtroopers. I bet you Thrawn had some input on that.
I think it's all Dathomiri stuff. That mask. It looks like some of the stuff that we see, the artwork that's on there that Enoch was wearing. There's some of the gold plates. I don't think it's. Remember, art again. When you think about Thrawn, he's an art aficionado. He's not an artist.
I feel like there's a little bit of a mix there. I'm sure Thrawn is a good painter if he really wanted to be.
Those red straps. So those red straps wrapped around all of them. That is 100% with the witches. Guaranteed 100% with them.
We're gonna have some payoff with those in the next 2 episodes. The witches, their plan for this is going to be revealed. That is for sure. So, but it seems like we're all more than happy with Thrawn's return, how he returned. You guys happy with the way his character was portrayed? Because I think it was, I mean, of course, it's the same voice actor, but I think the mannerisms, the way he plans things and calculates things, I think this episode showed that to its best point. I mean, this really did feel like Thrawn. It didn't feel like Rebels Thrawn, where a lot of it, was just, I don't know if it was the voice acting for me in that one, even though it's the same damn voice actor, or the plots and the schemes. But when you read the books, he is so methodical. Everything is planned out to a T. And in Rebels, a lot of people felt like they didn't get that. There were some complaints about Thrawn in Rebels. Well, of course you do. You haven't read the books.
I have read the books, actually.
There was
not all of them.
Some, but it's nowhere near as good as the books. But yeah, I would say, like, one of my friends on Twitter was making a joke and laughing about it, about how, Thrawn's asking, he wants to know about Ahsoka's, background and all this stuff. And he's like, Anakin was a master. He's dead. He's not going to get nothing from that. I'm like, you don't understand Thrawn.
It was in the book.
He wants everything.
He knew Anakin and Darth Vader, and he knew
worked
Anakin
with him.
was Darth Vader.
Yeah.
He
figured it out.
He didn't know.
Book, right?
He didn't know about it. He did. He worked him as Anakin and as Vader. And he didn't know about Ahsoka being a Padawan, his Padawan. So when he finds that out, he's going to have a whole bunch of information on her to figure her out and figure out her weaknesses and that's what it's all about. It's not about leverage. It's not like, I know you master is. I'm going to kill him, but he's dead. It doesn't matter. No, it's not about leverage. It's about leveraging knowledge and what he can tactically use against them to beat them. And that was an important line. That right there was book Thrawn. Poof. When he wanted to know everything about Ahsoka.
I'm surprised he didn't ask for
it wasn't Rebels
favorite
Golden.
meal.
There's just like, I've read every single Thrawn book. I've read the OG trilogy. I've read the Ascendancy trilogy. I just don't see a big difference in terms of his the evil nature we talk about sometimes. The difference now with the books, he's a bit more empathetic. Yeah, that's different from Rebels in the show or Rebels in the books. But in terms of his methodical nature, I just don't see a difference. Like, he was exactly like that in Rebels, and he was exactly like that in the books.
I'll take your word for it. I've only seen Rebels once, so.
Different thing in Rebels when he was digging into Hera and her family. That was the one part where they showed it. But
like all the battles every time except at the end, like he was always methodical, especially at the Battle of Adelon. Come on.
I will say, as I previously said, I have not gotten around to the Thrawn trilogy, unfortunately. Currently reading Darth Plagueis right now, and it is easily one of the best Star Wars books I've ever read. I can't believe it's taken me this long to get into it. Anyways, I'm not the guy to talk about Thrawn and if he's represented well or not, but from what I did see, as I said, I loved it.
This is all about Thrawn going forward, right? Just so
that's why I'm planning on reading these books. Lunga.
Maybe you could have put Darth Plagueis down for like a couple weeks.
I think there's technically like 11 Thrawn books, 3 trilogies and a duology. So
okay, isn't the Ascendancy, that's the main trilogy, right? Canon.
Yeah, there's
two canons.
there's two trilogies in the new one.
Yes, there's like I don't know.
If you want just a good idea of Thrawn,
Sure.
Ascendancy.
Okay.
Yeah, read the Ascendancy first. Again, you can read the old era of the Empire, but if you read Ascendancy, they'll give you If you read Ascendancy, they'll give you a good idea of his history and how he came about.
Yeah, I'll read that. I want to bring up, Balin and Shin. I'm assuming we're kind of moving on from Thrawn now. We can go back to him, but while I have it on my head, I want to talk about Balin and Shin specifically. I don't know if it was just me, but I got a little bit more of an empathetic side to Shin in this episode where she looks at her master and she's like, but what about your promise to Sabine? I'm not saying this is them hinting at a redemption arc for Shin because I don't want there to be. I think Balin and Shin are more interesting characters than to have a redemption arc. But what did you guys think about that? Did you guys pick up on that sort of empathetic side at all? Maybe just peeking out just a little bit?
No. I thought that was her just being confused by her master's plans. Maybe it is.
Yeah, I don't think it was
possibly.
So I just got.
I don't think it was this.
Like that. She buy things for her in front of everyone. Buy things for her in front of everyone.
Well, she's like, we saw in previous episodes, she's like a dog on a leash. Whereas now it seems like now that they're at this planet, Balin is revealing more stuff to her. He's starting to guide her a little bit more, letting her kind of relax. And, I found it interesting that, Thrawn is like, well, if they don't make it back, they're going to try and kill Ahsoka. Not even Ahsoka at this point, but Ezra and Sabine. Thrawn is like, if they don't make it back, who cares? What did you guys think about that?
I like that.
Well, to answer the first part of the question about the empathy, I agree with Goldman much. It's not necessarily empathy that I felt; it was more confusion because I feel Balin has constantly preached to her about we don't always have to violence, we don't always have to run to violence and kill. And when he hit it a little bit of about face there, she was like, "Wait a minute, doesn't jive with everything you've been kind of telling me. So what are we doing here?"
I thought, this hyperspace trip and Shin may have, hit it off and become pretty good friends, but I mean, who knows? Yeah, we might get a book on that.
Each other.
Yeah,
they probably hit it off. I know what you want to see, Palpa memes.
I do want to stick with their conversation though, instead of talking about Thrawn's.
Hear me out,
because there's a bunch of interesting things there between Shin and Balin, and to be honest, like I thought a lot of that dialogue was rather poor. That's a criticism that I had. There was a lot of interesting stuff from Balin, but I feel like Shin's just clueless on a lot of things that I don't buy that Balin wouldn't have told her in the past X amount of years they've been training together. When he's like, Ezra was training the Jedi arts after the order fell. Oh, like me? No, you're different. I trained you to be better. Like, I don't know. That's
I can see her. I can.
He's used to Rey, who just knows it all and has very few answers.
Yeah,
very few questions.
People still have good dialogue, so I guess I am used to better standards, but.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh yeah,
I think it's more
beauty's in the eye of the beholder. It was better dialogue because you liked her. That's why.
I had no issue with it. Honestly, what I've seen between that, it makes, especially if we're thinking about these people as like dark Jedi. The master's never going to tell the apprentice everything and stuff like this about this new galaxy. Why the hell does she need to know about that?
You should tell her something.
Well, I think
I would say what's going on.
She know? Hey, listen here, woman. You need to know the mission at hand. You need to shut this little girl up, and that's it.
They're not the Sith. She's not.
Have we not learned anything from the prequels? Didn't you see how many questions Obi-Wan had constantly for Qui-Gon? Qui-Gon wasn't just telling him everything.
Okay, but they didn't have
ask questions.
They didn't have a galactic changing plan that's at stake here. And I'm sure Obi-Wan knew some things. Like he knew that when they went to Naboo, they were trying to discuss some trade disputes. Like Shin has no clue what's going on. She knows as much as we do.
She knows what's going on. She just doesn't know what Ezra's training was like.
That's highly exaggerated. No, I'm not sure.
She doesn't know why they're there. She doesn't know about this call.
Never brought it up. He's keeping it close to the chest.
Why not? Like, why not tell your apprentice?
I think it just really comes down to...
my answer to this is why. Not why not. Why? Because why does he have to tell her every detail of what he's thinking?
That doesn't mean he gets to tell her
every single detail, but you'd think it reminds me of Holdo. Like, how about you tell her, the plan? Like, tell her something. Like, oh, we're here to do this.
Okay,
but
guys.
Then you look at Palpatine the way he did with Dooku and the way he did with Maul.
These are not Sith. These are not Sith. If they were Sith,
they're dark side users. They're dark side users. The morals still apply. I'm going to lie to my apprentice.
He cares about her.
Yeah, no, he cares about her.
Yes, he does. Absolutely. He wouldn't.
Why didn't they tell Luke everything? Oh, I don't know. Like, not mention that Darth Vader's his father.
Yeah,
because this is what the Jedi do, man. This is what they're very vague, and they wait until they're directly asked questions. We've seen this throughout. I don't know why this is a surprise. We've seen this throughout like every iteration of Star Wars.
It is not like Baylan has a clear secret plan, and Shin knows nothing. We haven't seen that with
that's secret.
Yes, it is secret.
Secret is he's trying to keep it from her. If he's only telling her what she needs to know, that's not necessarily the secret plan. It's like listen, Grasshopper, follow me. There's a difference.
In one of the earlier episodes, Shin's like, "What are we gonna find when we find Thrawn? Power." He's keeping a secret from her. He's not telling her what's
more interested in what's going to happen coming up next.
Awesome. I disagree.
He wants an info dump.
I just want to say, okay, Baylan's clearly kept her sheltered. Okay. She hasn't, and from what we know, she hasn't seen a Jedi in her entire life. She probably never was told what the Jedi were, right? So once Ahsoka and Sabine show up, oh, there's more people like us. Oh, no, these are Jedi. Well, wait, what's a Jedi? Then Baylan starts revealing his past. Oh, the Order, was once ruling the galaxy. It fell.
And I'm guessing she's very young, too.
I'm not saying she doesn't know about the Jedi. I'm saying she has never, up to this point, had a reason to start asking questions about the Jedi. She's been sheltered her whole life up until this very moment where things are actually changing.
No,
and she needs to know these things.
Him telling her that, hey, I used to be a Jedi is going to make her ask a million questions. Part of that being, why'd you left the Order? What happened to the Order? What is a Jedi? What are we? There are certain things that you just kind of have to take at face value with this stuff. And we have gone on a side tangent about what Shin knows and what she doesn't know. It doesn't fucking matter what she knows or what she doesn't know. She is not an important character to this entire story arc. All right. She is an apprentice to a guy who's a mercenary that Thrawn is clearly treating like a little side thing. Baylan is probably going to die at the end of the series. God bless Ray Stevenson for his amazing performance. I would hope to see more of Baylan, but he's going to die. Shin might have to die too, or she's going to show up in season 2 and be even more powerful and better, what have you. It doesn't matter. But overall, these two mercenaries have stolen the show in a very good way in the first 6 episodes. It's only been this episode that we finally see someone that's a little bit more intimidating than them, has a bigger purpose to be here than they do. They're here on their own accord for their own thing. And I'm interested in how it's going to play out because Thrawn said, hey, you guys go find Thrawn or go find Ezra and Sabine and destroy them. And Thrawn doesn't care if they succeed or if they fail because it has no impact on him at all. But that does give us into the one of the other big reveals, which I'll be honest, I'm surprised this wasn't a big topic in the Star Wars fandom as much as Thrawn was. Ezra Bridger came back in this episode, and what many will say was a kind of an anticlimactic reunion. There wasn't a lot of emotion with it, is what I'm seeing. I thought it was a fine little reunion. I thought it was pretty on par for the characters. I'm so glad they didn't make out or have a sex scene. I would have cringed.
No!
I see people comparing it to Finn and Rey, and it's like, stop.
Well, that
should have been
the Finn and Rey one is just because of the directing, I think, of that specific movie and that scene. But clearly, the Finn and Rey one was not as impactful as this one is supposed to be.
So I think it was overdone because it's not like they were apart for a decade.
So, I mean, that's true.
In the Last Jedi?
Yes.
Well, I mean, they both could have assumed the other was dead because everyone was dying. So yeah,
still, it was overdone.
If you walked into a building and I saw it explode, and then 10 minutes later you walked out, yeah, I'd be happy you were still alive.
Yeah, the guy you've known for at this point, what, 6 months or something? I think they've known each other at this point. It was wasn't even that long.
What, Rey and Finn? They knew each other for like a week, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Neither one of them had any friends, so yeah.
Yeah, and, the guy that she friend zoned, she's so glad to see him.
That's racist of you, Goldman, to assume that Finn did not have friends. Okay, Finn had friends. They died. All right, they died in the opening of Force Awakens. I don't know what the guy's name was. Stormtrooper number 2 background character. But anywho, what do you guys think about the Ezra Bridger return to Star Wars and his debut in live action? And I will say, on a side note, I always knew it was going to be this motherfucker. what's his name? Ethan, whatever the fuck.
Iman Estefani, I think.
Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Ethan, yeah. So
Brown guy's
someone
name's
had
Oh,
someone texted me like a year ago and was like, "Hey, this is the guy who's going to be in Ahsoka, and he's going to play Ezra." And I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" Everyone else is saying it's this guy from Aladdin. They're like, "Nah, this is it. This is it." And they were right. They were right. Good for them. But what do you guys think about Ezra's live action debut?
I'll go first. I thought it was perfect. People were saying it was anticlimactic, like they expected Ezra's return to be this huge glamorized thing. It is perfectly in Ezra's character to just be chilling with a bunch of like crabs and like befriending them and whatnot. Like I don't know. I thought it would have been more over the top if he had an entrance like Thrawn, where like he was walking out of a room and it was like slow reveal and he's like, "I'm back." Like no, Thrawn's just chilling there with some crabs, and yeah. So I didn't need like Sabine to start crying. Oh, I missed you so much. Like it was a simple reveal. And I think if Ezra's reveal was too over the top, then it would have been like too much for the episode because we got Thrawn's great introduction. I think it shows a good contrast. You know, Thrawn has all this power and he's so respected by everyone, and Ezra's just chilling with these crabs. I think it was a good contrast. And I thought it was perfect.
You're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. That is Ezra, and I never liked Ezra that much. At least early, I kind of warmed up to him a little bit as he got older. But it was bad. He was obnoxious. And not like Ahsoka obnoxious, because that was just bad writing for Ahsoka. Ezra was just obnoxious. But that was him viewing it is yes, I have no problem with that. And I'm not saying it needed to be over the top or just crying and whinging and all this stuff. However, I know, again, as part of his character that he has this ultimate faith in his friends, that they're always going to come through, right? You're telling me 10 years, he's like, yeah, they're going to find me in this galaxy fucking who knows where the fuck where. They're going to randomly be able to find me 10 years later. There was no surprise in his face that she showed up. None. Like, I didn't need over time. Just say eyes going wide, like, oh shit. You know, just that alone. Just that little eyes going wide when he saw her instead of, leaning up against the fucking hut, like, what up?
Rebellions are built on hope, Wanda. Ezra's instilled
again,
hope.
There still should have been a little bit of surprise in his face. And I think that was just a misdirection. But again, that was just a small thing. It's again, I'm not saying that it should have been more over the top and more whining and crying and blubbering and stuff. It didn't need that. He still could have been cool the way he usually did, but there should have been just that little facial hint of surprise when he saw her. That's all.
Yeah, that is a good point. He hasn't seen a human in God knows how long. But you know what's funny? I'm really curious on what happened with him and Thrawn, because
Me too.
Going into this, I really thought, I don't know why I thought this. I guess because I didn't see anyone else on like the bridge. I thought it was just going to be Thrawn and Ezra. Like for years at this point, I was like, how cool that'd be. Just show up and it's just Thrawn and Ezra like in a hut and being like, oh yeah, we fucking hate each other, but we're all we got, so we've kind of managed by ourselves.
Enemy Mine. Have you ever seen that old movie, Enemy Mine?
That would be so cool. Yeah, I mean, like, oh my god, that'd be so cool if you guys just fucking teamed up or something. And Ezra's like, yeah, we got to fight the Grist together and everything. Fuck the Emperor. We got all this other shit to do. So the fact that didn't happen, whatever. Thrawn assumes that Ezra could be dead and has intel on his last location and everything. But in my mind, I'm like, where the fuck did Ezra go? Like, did they jump out of hyperspace? Ezra goes flying through the fucking window and lands with the hut people or the rock people, my bad. And then Thrawn's just with the ship and is like, whatever. Like, how did they part ways after they parted the fucking galaxy? Like, that's really odd.
And let's also think about this. It's not like they appeared on the planet. They were in space first. They had to arrive at the planet. So only thing, if I have to guess, and this is a complete guess, is when that happened, Ezra used the Force and he was like hiding. So he was like trying to hide on the ship because he knew he was vastly outnumbered, so he was hiding on the ship. And then at some point, maybe because the ship was damaged, they had to come into the atmosphere, to do repairs or to assess the damage or whatever. So they went into the atmosphere and Ezra found grabbed a TIE interceptor and jetted, for the surface. And Thrawn, knowing that they're in the middle of nowhere, didn't bother chasing them. But then they went down to the planet to investigate. And I'm telling you, I still think that the first couple years for Thrawn and his stormtroopers was not pleasant down there. I think they went through some battles. I think they went through some shit down there. And Ezra found these little crab people, and I think he lived a decent life, and it wasn't too bad for him. But Thrawn had it very difficult, and that's why Thrawn didn't bother looking for him.
Yeah, I would be very interested in hearing Thrawn's story on how you survived this whole ordeal. How did you meet the great mothers and all that stuff? And, did they know you were coming? Was that part of their destiny thing? Did you run into other species? How are the Grisk doing? What about the Chiss? Anything at all. That'd be great.
Can we talk? I want to ask you guys this, because I thought this was really cool, because it plays into the whole how elephants and whales and stuff work, where it's like this was because it was my big concern. I'm like, how are they going to just figure out these hyperspace lanes like this? Because it is a patterned Purgle migratory route, and it's their graveyard. This is where they, like elephants, will go to a specific spot to die all the time. And so, and the Dathomiri, they figured this out, being from that planet, and their graveyard being right in their backyard, and they studied the Purgles, and that's how they found this route to the Star Wars galaxy. And the Jedi knew stories and tales about it, and this is kind of stuff like that. So I thought that was a really neat way to do it. How did you guys feel about that?
It's a neat detail. I mean, it was cool.
I liked it, because one of the concerns or thoughts I had was like, this is a map to the new galaxy. Like, galaxies are big. It makes you think you're just going to find Ezra and Thrawn right away. So I like how they simplified it, where it's like, in order to get from the Star Wars galaxy to this galaxy, the hyperspace lane, it's always just going to take you to this planet first. So it was a simple way that made sense with hyperspace rules. And it didn't complicate things too much, and allowed the story to progress without having to spend an entire episode finding Thrawn and then finding Ezra. And they're both here, just elsewhere, and it made sense.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in the end credits. The lines go from planet to planet to planet to this planet, and it's just a whole route. And yeah, I agree with that.
That's not something the live action movies or shows have really conveyed well. Like, they kind of just make it seem you can just jump into hyperspace anywhere. While anyone who knows the lore, there's certain hyperspace lanes you need to take. Like,
it's just like a road map versus just flying in our space. Where you can just go in wherever direction. There's an actual route,
exactly.
And I like that.
In the original trilogy, they kind of hinted at, Han talked about lanes and stuff like that. So they kind of hinted that there was a specific way to travel. They just didn't get into detail into it. But
it's a lot more specific than the movies let on, and this kind of expanded on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's good to do something like that in a show. In a movie, it's like, we don't really need to know that stuff. Whereas in a show, it's just something cool that they can add on there.
Well, plus this added to the lore in like a good way, where like Goldman was saying it's not a random planet that they show up on. It's like, no, this is a route that the Purgles have gone on for millennia. And therefore you end up in this one specific planet. And that's why it would make sense for the Jedi to at least know about the planet and have some stories about it from the old ages and everything, as opposed to being like, oh no, the Jedi know all about this galaxy and every planet that's in it, and this is that and this and the other. It's really just, no, we've heard stories of the other galaxy, and this is like one of the planets that we know about it, because it still makes the rest of the galaxy very mysterious. And there's some rock people, there's Ezra, who's homeless, and then there's Thrawn. And Thrawn also pulled up on a ship too. So that makes me wonder, like, was he on another side of the planet? Was he at another part of this galaxy? What does he know about the galaxy that he's currently residing in? What do the Great Mothers know about this galaxy that they've been residing in for some time? And what's their ultimate goal with it as well? Like, what are they trying to get out of this situation with Thrawn? Are they trying to go back to Dathomir? Are they just wanting to go back to the other galaxy for civilization sakes? Like, I have no idea.
I don't know.
I think it's their grudge match with the Jedi. And I honestly think, I could be completely wrong, but I think that what's in those crates are those Yislamiri. I think it's the force negating creatures. I think that's what's on the planet.
That would be cool, but that would be impractical. I mean, that's a lot of little creatures to load up on a ship, and then, I mean, how many Jedi are they gonna have to fucking fight? Luke, Ahsoka,
doesn't
Ezra?
know. He was gone. He doesn't know how many. He doesn't know what.
Well, I mean, he knew all the Jedi were basically gone.
Yeah, true.
So
yeah,
that's why I think
a good idea on that.
The only thing that's going to surprise him is the Emperor and Vader's death and like the fall of the Empire. But I mean, the way Mandalorian season 3 portrayed things, is that Thrawn is well aware of what's happening in the galaxy. I mean, when he was talking to Morgan Elsbeth, he seems like he was studying the galaxy. I'm more than confident he knows that the Empire fell and that there's remnants of it that he has to come back to. And I'm pretty confident that he's been communicating with some of them, like we saw in Mando season 3 with Moff Gideon and the Shadow Council. And he was like, okay, you keep talking about Thrawn's return. When the fuck is that going to happen? So it does seem like there's been some communication with Thrawn, other imperial remnants, and one of them being Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah, I want to bring up Balin, and you talked about him earlier. I like the idea that his sort of, I don't know, his journey is all based on just folktale. And as he gets along, he's like, okay, this is true. Okay, this part is true. This is true. Okay, that means the end goal must be true. Do you guys think in this season we are going to find out thoroughly what his goal is? What kind of power is he talking about? What is his end game here? Do you think we'll find out this season? Because we really don't have much time left. Let's just say the next 2 episodes are 45 minutes long each, like these previous ones have been. How much time do we have to spend on Balin? Because they've been building up this plan throughout literally the entire season so far, yet we still have no idea what he's there for.
Well, the next 2 episodes are going to split in 2 different ways. You're going to have part of the story about Ezra and Sabine fighting Balin and Shin, and then the other part of the story is going to be about Ahsoka finding out about like Thrawn and everything, probably trying to prevent them from escaping and whatnot. And Balin, Shin, Ezra, and Sabine all need to get back to Thrawn's ship to get the fuck out of there. And Thrawn probably won't be willingly letting like Ezra and Sabine onto the ship to, escape. But he did tell her, hey, look, you got 3 cycles to come back, kind of thing. But still, I do think with these next 2 episodes, it is ample enough time to have Balin, Shin, Ezra, and Sabine have some kind of conflict. And it sounded like Balin said something was calling to him on this planet. I do think that's where this is going to go. I do think we're going to get some answers with Balin, maybe a hint of things in episode 7, but I think episode 8, we're going to see his fall and his death. I don't know how or why, but I do think we're going to get the answers you're looking for by the end of the series, but that does mean Balin's going to have to die.
I don't think Balin's going to die. I don't think Shin's going to die. I have a wild prediction. It's just a fun theory idea, and I want to know what you guys think about it if the story does go this route. What if, okay, so Ahsoka shows up, whatever happens with her, but Ahsoka, Sabine, Shin, Ezra, and Balin all get stranded on this planet.
That's just the end. Like, that's a cliffhanger.
I mean, yeah. What do you guys think?
It's interesting thought. Usually,
then we have to have another people trying to find their way there. No,
the crabs know something else, and they lead them to some world between worlds like
Ezra home.
It is an interesting thought. How, like, we all assumed, how are they going to get there? Like, how is Ahsoka going to get there without the map? How are they going to get home? Are they going to use the Purgle again?
They're going to get back with Thrawn. I
don't think so.
I feel like Thrawn's the most obvious answer, but I do. It's not like Thrawn's going to be like, all right, guys, everyone get on my ship. We'll all beat the shit out of each other.
Star Destroyer is huge. It's very easy to stow away on a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, but okay, is it possible? I don't know much about this side of the lore of Star Wars. Is it possible that through this, through this journey and this traveling that Ahsoka did in her spaceship inside the Purgle, could she not just track that the whole way through? I mean, use Google Maps or something, say track my location from here to here and get me back from there. Is that possible that they can do that? I mean, what's stopping them?
They also need it.
If the Purgle takes her back, that's one thing. Exactly what Lunga's saying. They need a ship, though. That's what's so unique
power. That's a good point. Yeah, and I guess you couldn't transmit that to the New Republic. I would assume that wouldn't be possible, right?
That's way too far. Way too far. You gotta know.
They use the Night Sisters. They work with the Night Sisters for some reason. Yeah. And the Night Sisters, I don't know.
They need a Night Sister receiving on the other side to get that.
And that's where Marin comes in.
My girl. Come on, guys. You thought the cameos were done? It's not over.
I do want to touch on some of the character decisions they made, especially with Sabine and Ezra. And I'm so excited because Sabine's really gonna face the consequences of her actions. Like, Ezra's like, oh, how'd you get here? I can't wait to go home. And Thrawn's like, you two are gonna be stranded here. Like, good luck. And so Sabine's gonna have to answer some questions. And if I was Ezra, the first thing I would do is ask him a bunch of questions. Like, did we win the war? You know, how's everyone doing? Like, and Sabine's like, oh, let's not ask questions. Can we just enjoy this moment? I'd be like, fuck you. No, I've been gone for 10 years. I want to know some shit. Like, this moment means more to me than it does to you. Answer my questions.
I think the first question is not even going to be. It's not even going to be an emotional one. I think it's just going to be flat out, how did you get here? And she's not going to lie to him. She's going to tell him. And then the story, we're going to find out what happened to Thrawn through Ezra. That's most likely what's going to happen. He's going to
again. How much time do we have left?
It'll be just a small explanation of the last 10 years.
I know. I'm worried about I feel like there's a lot more that we have to do the rest of the season. But I'm sure it'll progress fine. Does Sabine think Ahsoka is dead?
5-minute dialogue.
The show hasn't really been a lot of filler except for the last episode. I mean, it's
episode 3 was pretty.
There's not been a single filler episode, not one.
I didn't say it was a filler episode, but it was the closest thing to a filler episode.
None of them are filler.
One thing happened in that episode. One thing.
I didn't say it was a filler episode, but it was a filler episode.
What did happen in episode 3?
It's not technically because the plot advanced, but the plot advanced very subtly.
What happened in episode 3 though? I can't remember that episode.
A starfighter battle, and then they went to a planet, and that's it.
Ahsoka and Sabine.
That's the one that you all loved. Oh, so great! The starfighter battle is also
awesome. That's a great episode. I think that episode is better than this one, to be honest.
Well, you're also thinking that The Last Jedi is better than Empire Strikes Back. So
I never said that.
I didn't say the episode was bad, but that episode was a video game. That's all that episode was. It was watching a video game.
But
anyways,
I will be annoyed if there is no mention of Jason to Ezra. That like Kanan and Hera had a kid. That'd be like on the top of the list of things I'd tell Ezra. Obviously Ezra can't ask because he doesn't know, but like I don't know. Granted, that's not really established in the show, like Ezra and Kanan's relationship. So it might seem a bit awkward dialogue, but I don't care. Like that's something Sabine would tell Ezra right away.
Well, Ezra knew that they were together. They did.
Yeah, you know they had a kid.
Kanan died.
They knew they were smashing.
Did he?
I don't know because Kanan was a Jedi. I hope that Ezra sees Jason and is like, Jesus fucking Christ, who the fuck are you? Like, you ugly motherfucker.
No, oh my God.
Reinhardt and Ezra would never do that. But imagine, like, what the
that would be the
let's just add another character to the list that Star Wars only hates.
Yes, right now. Jason.
Ahsoka, Shin.
No, I don't hate Shin. I don't hate Shin. You put a question mark by her name, right? She's got to be like 16.
I'm certain before the series started, you said you didn't like Sabine. I'm like certain of it.
No, when I say I didn't, I'm not invested in her as a character from Rebels. I was like, oh, it's the goth bitch from Rebels. This series, though, she's not bad. She's not bad. She's better than Ahsoka in the show so far. She's a lot more engaging and interesting. And you know what? I think one of the reasons this episode was a 10 out of 10 for me, I did not see Ahsoka cross her arms one time. One time.
You know, again, this fucking crossing arms things. When if you see the amount of pictures that people are posting up of her crossing her arms in the Clone Wars, okay? And do I have to once again go to no, it's not member berries, it's what the bitch does. Are you fucking serious? It's not a member berry. You want just so it can't call it a member berry, make her act nothing like she did before. That's what you want for it not to be a member berry.
Crossed their arms so fucking
Obi-Wan motherfucking Kenobi had his arms crossed constantly. Yes, he did.
Did it annoy you that Thrawn had his arms crossed behind his back? I'm sure that must have made you.
No, literally, like it's just.
Why does that not bother you?
It's manners. You know, he's walking. He has a presentation to do. Ahsoka literally will just. Ahsoka will get up from the coffee table to look at you, cross her arms, and then talk to you. All right.
Why does Han Solo have to lean against every bulkhead in every ship he's ever in? Why does he always got to do that?
It's called big dick energy. That's what that's called.
Seriously,
I'm going through the beginning. Sorry, no,
it's just something she does with her character. I mean, I don't get
every fucking episode.
In every episode, yes, every episode because she's in every episode.
It's like when Anakin kept calling her snips in episode 5. Like
he
never once called her.
Star Wars only.
No, that was not a one time.
Why do you have to bitch about Ahsoka in every episode of Chatooine? You bitch about Ahsoka in every episode of Chatooine. Why do you got to do that?
He's a fake fan.
Covering the Ahsoka series. If we were covering fucking Book of Boba Fett, oh
Book
shit,
of
I'd still
freaking
talk about
Bob.
it because she's still.
There's one character that we have not mentioned who is the standout star of this fucking show. Okay, was fucking Toda. Okay, Toda, the dog, the mount. That
Okay,
dog,
Toda
that thing
is not
reminded me
him.
of my dog. It is
Toda is meant to be sit down. His name is a
no
crawler.
name was Toda. She went Toda.
His name is
Toda.
not
No, it's his
Toda.
name.
Let's go on.
No, his name is
Wikipedia.
Toda.
What's the
Name is
planet
Toda.
name?
No, you can
Peridia?
call him Toda. I
No,
don't care.
because
Peridia.
when Enoch called her out, he went Toda, and the dog came walking out. Didn't sit, came walking out.
No. He walked
I don't
and
know.
said Toda, and then it sat, and then she said Toda.
Bullshit.
And then it
Bullshit.
sat.
The
I
name, the
watched
dog's
it
name is
twice.
motherfucking Toda. I don't care if it means sit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be
I'm
calling
gonna-
it
I'm gonna
sit.
pull
That's his
receipts.
fucking name. The dog's name is fucking Toda.
No, the band is called Toto, and they sang "Bless the Rings" down in Africa.
I don't know. So
Either way, that
wait,
motherfucking dog was
wait.
fucking awesome. I love that dog.
subtitles
Yes, he was.
tell you a lot. So she yells Toda, Toda, and then it said Howler groans. I feel like if the dog had a name, it would have said Toda groans.
Hey,
So-
I reject your reality and replace it with my own. The dog's name is Toda.
Sorry, I live in the real
Okay?
reality. You live in the fantasy
Either
world.
way,
That's how it
that
works.
doesn't change the fact that the Howler was a standout character in this episode.
It
I
was
love
cute.
that Howler. It reminds me of my
Yeah,
dog,
it was.
and it was beautiful. I loved it.
Okay,
Is there
no.
anything
Enoch
else
says
you can-
Toto, which prompts the creature to kneel so that Ren can mount its saddle. Wikipedia, right there.
Jesus fucking Christ! How many times I gotta say I reject your reality and replace it with my own to say that I don't give a fuck?
All
That
right,
I'm
what I
not
do.
arguing. I am not
I
legitimately
wasn't
arguing.
listening to you guys. I was reading.
No, that's his name.
I turned you guys off. I was just reading. I don't know where
also-
we're at.
Yeah,
in the
let me
conversation.
prove Lunga's
Wikipedia
wrong
either.
when Lunga is tongue in cheek admitting he's wrong. Jesus fucking Christ!
I was verifying the information at hand. I'm sorry. Now we
Doesn't
know.
what a bit is. That's great. So let's wrap up the dialogue on this most recent episode. We can do another roundtable of what you guys would rank this episode and your final thoughts on it. I will start out as what I said at the beginning, what I said on Twitter. This was a 10 out of 10 episode, one of the best episodes in Star Wars history, and I absolutely loved it. It makes me vastly interested in what's coming next. And good fucking job, Dave Filoni, for actually being able to write something for once. And shout out to the girl who directed this. I have no idea who the fuck she is, but she did a good job directing. Lunga, what do you think? You got to unmute yourself.
You did. Dumbass.
That was a spectacular episode. I thought it was great. I loved everything, just about everything about it. Star Wars only doesn't know the director's name because it's a woman. But other than that, I
You know
love
the
that.
name
It might as well be
Right now.
Kathleen Kennedy to me.
Do you know the name?
No,
of it?
I don't know the name.
Lunga.
I usually find out after the fact. Like all the Mandalorian episodes, I found out the director was when you guys mentioned it. Even if it was Fumiyawa or Bryce Dallas Howard or whoever. Unless it was some big thing, is the only time I knew the director. But I
Jennifer
rarely just know the
Getzinger.
director. I don't idolize directors as much as some people do. Ryan Johnson Coleman. I don't do that.
None to idolize there.
Make Ryan trilogy.
But yeah, no, I thought it was great. If they continue on with this, I think the series is going to end pretty well, and I think it's going to end well. I think we're going to have a conclusion to what we're seeing in the series, but also a cliffhanger for more.
All right. Again, I thought it was a fine stepping stone episode. It set a lot of things up. It gave us good reveals for Thrawn and Ezra. This episode left me with more questions and answers, and that's not a bad thing. There's still 2 episodes left. I'm still baffled that like people think this is the best episode in the series when episode 4 exists, but we all have our opinions. So yeah, it was a good episode. It didn't do anything wrong. I did not many things great. So yeah, I liked it. It was fine. 7.
Yeah. As I said before, I like the mysticality of it, the adventureness to it. I definitely didn't like it as much as I would say a large group of people within the Star Wars fandom have loved it. And that's okay. But I did think the episode was great. It was well made for the purpose it needed to serve. It did it well. Thrawn was great. We got a little bit more with Balin and Shin, though, like Goldman said, more questions were opened up. I'm just waiting for those questions to be answered. I would rank it. I'm leaning towards an 8 to an 8.5 out of 10. I'm more so towards 8 because I really don't have many problems with it. It just wasn't something that was like outstanding. It currently ranks, I think, third in place on my episode ranking of this show so far. I agree that I think that there's going to be a good conclusion, but I also think a lot of doors are going to be left open, and there's got to be a season 2. And my personal prediction for a while now has been season 1 and 2 of Ahsoka, and season 2 will lead into Dave Filoni's sort of Heir to the Empire movie. That's what I think they're going for with this.
Wait, before we move on to the next topic, which I'm going to load anyway, I just have one question, Star Wars only. Where on your member berry scale does the A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away rank? I need to know.
That's up there with pretty bad, honestly. I mean, that was
awesome.
You know what I didn't like too? You know what I didn't like is when he was saying about the histories of the galaxies, part 1, 2, and 3.
Why do you hate fun?
Didn't hate
Why
it.
do you hate fun? Seriously, why do you hate fun? It's just like that is literally on the nose. It's meant to be fun. It's not a wink, wink, nod, nod. It's meant to be fun. Everyone, if you know, they have a basic understanding of Star Wars. You know,
everyone in Western society knows A Long Time Ago.
I know exactly how this went long ago. Dave is sitting there writing this, and he goes, and he happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far. You remember that? You remember? And Kathy,
yeah,
I remember, Dave. I remember that.
I remember. Oh, I heard this guy, Star Wars only, that we banned from everything. He hates that shit. So let's definitely put it in.
I'm on their press list. They send me books. Fucking idiots. They gave me a media pass to go to Celebration, and I will note that is the last Celebration that is allowed to have media passes going forward. So,
well, we know who didn't get one recent. You know, the last one, and he cried about it.
Shut up.
No, he got one. He didn't get one recently.
Listen, just because you want to suck his teeny weenie doesn't mean we all care. Okay.
Fuck.
we saw that super chat.
I sent like one donation to his Nerd Theory, and I think my comment was a troll comment about Rey Skywalker or something. All right.
Well, we all know they need to make a live action Clone Wars, so it's just that's what needs to happen.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the Lando conversation that I know Goldman cannot wait for, let's get through a couple of these super chats that you guys so kindly sent in. Lord Baratheon, first of his name, King of the Andals, said, "Star Wars only. How do you think the Mandoverse will tie into the sequel trilogy?" I mean, we thought they were going to do something with the clones and thinking that was going to be Snoke. Turns out it was just Moff Gideon, copy and paste for
so much.
bit.
Dude, that pissed me off so much.
Yeah, that was really bad. I feel like they're gonna kind of lead into like the First Order being like started up as time goes on with the Mandoverse, but I really think the key to all of this is absolutely the Dave Filoni movie and what happens with that. I think that's where the Mandoverse is leaning into, is just let's get this big climactic Heir to the Empire finale thing, and that is what will ultimately lead into the sequels. That's my.
They've hinted to it. They've hinted to it with just about everything. If you really pay attention. The Rangers of New Republic, which didn't happen, we're just seeing them appear everywhere now since they're not doing the whole show. But his whole again. What's the character's name again?
Carson Teva.
Carson, yes. He's been telling everyone who will listen, and even those that don't, there's something going on out there. There's something going on out there. There's something going on there. And it wasn't just Moff Gideon. There's something going on out there. So they've been hinting at this the whole time. And Moff Gideon was kind of like again, I agree with Palpatine's 100%, and the rest of you too. The way they ended it was just, I don't know. They took this amazing actor and just turned him into a mustache twirler in like the last fucking episode for some reason. I don't know why. It's like we ran out of ideas. Let's just do this. He's gonna die anyway. But he was like the mini boss, right? And it showed Mandos and the other people in the outer realm there. Their disdain for these Empire remnants, right? And right now they're just kind of loose. They got some power, but not super strong until Thrawn returns, which is the real deal. So you're going to see all these different people that were fighting against this kind of little thing, in a loose confederation. Now are going to come together when it comes to Thrawn. And I don't know if they're going to. I mean, Moff Gideon was when they did it, so they pretty much put the whole purge of Mandalore at his feet. as he's the one who did it. I think that was a mistake, especially if they were going to just finish him like that. Because I don't know, other than being friends with everybody, I don't see what the Mandalorian stake would be in fighting Thrawn, but they're going to find a reason.
Yeah. We got another super chat from Grievous Reborn saying, I wonder if the Raiders are male Dothamirians. Maybe. They used sticks, did they not?
Yeah, I was like they kind of looked at the lightsaber and then ran away because of it. They don't seem to have any special powers or connections or anything like that.
They don't need to. They're just sperm donors.
That's true. That's true. It's like that Rick and Morty episode where the women rule and the men are just sperm donors for the planet. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a matriarchal society. The men are just there to reproduce. That's all they're there for.
And look what happened to that planet when they let the I'm going to hell. All right. So the best news of the week that we all are so excited for is it is not just a rumor. It has been confirmed by Lucasfilm that the Lando series. Yes, it has. Variety did it. Variety did an article. Variety is Variety is very credible. I know you don't believe, these credible news sources that aren't scoopers. These are highly reputable people who do this for a living. Variety reached out to Lucasfilm for comment, and Lucasfilm confirmed that the Lando series that was originally being written by Justin Simeon, who wrote Dear White People, was now you gotta love it, right?
Thank you for that note.
Now it is being written by Donald and Stephen Glover. No relation. They're just brothers. These two guys are not doing a series. They're doing a Lando Calrissian movie. My first question is why? Second question is what the fuck? And third question is why?
What the fuck indeed?
My first question is how are they writing a movie, a script when they're still on strike?
That's gonna come. That's gonna come later. We know with a lot of these writers, especially the ones like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, who's attached to these billion-dollar conglomerate corporations, they're writing, even though they're not supposed to. They're probably writing behind the scenes. I got a little note here and there and all that stuff. They just can't put in any like.
They can't submit it, and they can't submit it. Yeah. They
can't.
They have it on their laptop and their hard drive.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. You can't have supporting writers and stuff on set for things and all that. So that's why production is just stopped.
Yeah, I do say it is funny to me, like some of these podcast people who are like, I'm not covering any media until the strikes are. Shut the fuck up with yourself.
Can we just talk about the news?
I will say this. While I am not excited about a Lando movie, I did like Glover as Lando. I thought he was, if there's anyone to play a younger version of any of these characters, he
nailed it.
Park.
He was great.
Okay.
But
so he
would
is
it
great
merit a movie?
Hold on. I'm getting there. I'm not excited about it being a movie. However, this I think is the first step in the shift that these companies are doing, especially Disney when it comes to the MCU, and they realize what they fucked up with all these MCU shows that were failing and not making money, and they were oversaturating the shows. And Star Wars, Lucasfilm, are realizing, you know what, we need to, and what we've all been complaining about. Now, I know the Lando is not the vehicle to do it with, but they're transitioning, saying, you know what, we need to go back to making movies. We can still do our shows, but we can't make everything a show. It's oversaturation, and people are getting tired of it. So I think it's a step in the right direction. I just don't think this is the vehicle to do it with.
Goldman, are you going to say anything about it? I know you.
I've thought long about this.
Okay.
If this is a $200 million plus theatrical released movie, I think this is a dumber decision than not planning out the sequels. I really do. We had a movie about Han Solo, arguably one of the three most iconic characters in the franchise. And that movie bombed. It's terrible. Set the franchise back.
Because of your favorite movie. Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
If your favorite movie Han Solo would have made $700-800 million.
I think
that, no.
Anyways, that's not the topic of debate.
Go ahead.
You're going to do the same thing with a less popular character. You already have the result. It's just if they do like a Disney Plus movie that's like really low budget, I'll be fine actually. You know what?
$100 million
I'd
budget.
prefer not to happen.
But Ray is so popular, right? Ray is so popular. She needs a movie.
Yes,
her
so
movies did not
no.
bomb, and she's a Jedi with a yellow lightsaber.
There is a big fucking difference between
movies
Lando and Ray.
didn't bomb. They were not a Ray movie. Slow the fuck down. They were not a
No,
Ray
I'll be
movie.
as fast as I
She was the
want.
main character,
Okay.
though, right? I mean,
No, because the only thing that made Rise of Skywalker make money was fucking Ben Swallow. Okay, it wasn't fucking Ray.
he's the main character, so.
Okay, but
Anyway,
we'll
that's-
know
no,
for
that's such a
sure when the Ray
stupid
movie
take
comes out if
like,
it is.
because no. Lando, sure, he may be a more popular character, but the prospects, you can ask anyone besides weirdos on Twitter who talk about how the sequel trilogy has ruined everything. The prospects of a Rey movie about her with new Jedi, whether you hate the character or not, is far more potentially intriguing than Lando's fucking trilogy of books that he read.
That's not what you were saying. You were
Yes,
comparing popularity of characters. No, you were comparing popularity of characters.
I'm comparing.
Why would you do
Lando's
this for a character
popularity?
that's less popular?
I'm comparing
That's what you said.
Lando's popularity to a solo movie about Han Solo that has already bombed.
Sure.
And the Rey
Which
movie's
is
not gonna be
unfair
called
because
Rey
you know
Skywalker.
why it bombed.
Not
No, but
There were
Like,
many more
based on the
reasons than just The Last Jedi.
Yeah, Palpatine
That
right.
is
There's a lot of factors.
80% of the reason.
Oh, it's
That
like
is
No,
80% of the
I'd say it's
reason.
probably
30-35%
30-35% of it.
At most 15%.
No,
Double
not even
that, do
15.
30.
If I had to
Over
rank the
30 to
reasons-
50% of it is probably the backlash of The Last Jedi. Regardless,
You
of,
had
there were
overwhelmingly
multiple
people
factors.
on social media saying they were not going to see
You're
Han
right,
Solo
but there
because
were
of Last
multiple
Jedi.
Not
factors
overwhelming.
into the
It's not
solo
overwhelming.
Star Wars story
Revisionist
bombing. Multiple factors, and I think one of them, and I know this is going to be a hot take because everyone loves Alden Ehrenreich. Him being Han Solo, he did fine. Sure, he's not Harrison Ford, and it's the same thing that we're going to have with Lando. Lando's got a movie. Okay, who's playing? Donald Glover. Oh, he's an amazing artist, probably one of the best artists of our generation. Amazing talent, amazing actor, amazing singer. However, he cannot take his own movie by himself as Lando Calrissian. Billy D. Williams is Lando. And either way, I think this is dumb. If you do a box office release, we actually have to go to the movie theaters to see Lando. Okay, maybe in like 5 to 6 years, if we got a couple more Star Wars movies, that could work. But there's no way this film is gonna make money. There's no way this film is gonna be like a big box office hit. There's no way in my mind it could even cross $1 billion, 800 million. I'd be like, holy shit. But
Not even
to
close.
put this on,
Yeah,
put this on Disney
that's
Plus,
a
though,
$400 million movie at best.
and that's a
400
pointless
million.
thing to do. That is pointless to me because let's say
I
they
said
go
at
with the other
best.
side. Let's say they put this on Disney Plus. I hate that idea too. I hate that idea because it becomes a point where we start watering down Star Wars movies. People already feel like the franchise has been watered down with all the content we've been producing and the live action stuff, and some is good, some is not good, and it's all open to it. But for most people, the stuff that we have made in the past couple of years is not really that good. To the most casual audiences, this is watered down the franchise. You do a Disney Plus Star Wars movie, how much more watering down do we really need at that point?
This is Black Widow levels of what the hell. I want to give my thoughts on that.
That's why I said this is not the vehicle. But sorry, go ahead, Pelvin.
Yeah. So I actually made a video on this, and it was kind of like a 8-minute long, not rant. It was very sophisticated, and I wrote a script, but it was kind of a rant. My main premise of the video is I am so tired of the original trilogy era. I don't care if this is right after Revenge of the Sith. I don't care if it's right before The Force Awakens. That is the original trilogy era. I don't care what anyone says. That's the original era. A Lando movie. You guys have already made the good points of this is comparable to Solo. Yes, there are other factors as to why Solo failed, but I think even if The Last Jedi did great, I would argue that Solo still would not have done well. Anyways, Lando, I agree, he can't hold his own. If this is a movie, say after Return of the Jedi, he's working with Luke, because we know from The Rise of Skywalker, they were trying to find Exegol. They knew about Exegol. They were trying to find that Wayfinder. But come on, they've already done the book on that. So that can't happen. Could it be a Disney Plus special presentation? Where the hell is this? When is this going to release? We've got Mangold's movie. We've got Dave Filoni's movie. We've got the Rey Skywalker movie. Where are they going to fit in a Lando movie, and why? How would this fit in with the franchise itself? Yes, Goldman.
Are you guys familiar with the Werewolf by Night Marvel special?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a better chance it's something like that than a rather whole movie. I think if they just do maybe like an hour-long special, like, a Lando adventure, then it's not really a movie. So it's kind of like,
but
listen, I would prefer it not happen. If this gets canceled, which it most likely will because of
Well, that's point 4 I was going to make.
I'm
Is
getting
this
the
is probably not
streamers
going
and
to
the
happen?
balloons. I'm throwing a party. But of all these situations, if they said, if they made it any kind of movie, theatrical, historically bad idea. Even if it's just a Disney Plus movie, which they haven't done before, so it would be strange that they would do that. Bad idea. I'm not really gonna hate it. I'd watch it and never watch it again. But if it was like a hour-long special, it's like Lando's One Adventure. I actually really like that precedent. I would love for Star Wars to do more hour-long specials.
Either make it animated and let Donald Glover do the voice acting. That's it. Just make it animated.
If they want to be animated, sure, but I would not be upset.
Yeah.
If it was like a live action 1 hour special, I would not hate that.
Here's my
Not
problem
happen, I
with
wouldn't hate
this is, that writer for it confirmed this, considering Variety and Lucasfilm confirmed this. They clearly stated movie. I feel like if they were like, hey, this is getting condensed down to a two hour long special presentation on Disney Plus, they would have said that. Never with that werewolf MCU short did they call that a movie. They would have called it what it was if it's what it was going to be. Which is,
I mean,
you can't trust the word there's so no.
Yeah, I mean, some of this stuff is, you got to read between the lines and everything. And even when the Hollywood Reporter and a couple other places were reporting about J.D. Dillard's Star Wars movie, they said initially when he had signed on is that the talks were that this could also be a Disney Plus Star Wars movie. So for the past 3 to 4 years, there has been considerations of doing a Disney Plus Star Wars movie. So I kind of like the way Goldman was explaining it on, it's just a little special thing. But if it's an actual film, an actual movie, God damn, we are bankrupt on creative ideas at this point. We have no idea what to do with Star Wars if we're really going to do something like this. Lord Baratheon, shout out to him, said, I don't think the argument of Alden not being Harrison Ford matters anymore since Indy 5 bombed. I think that's a little different because Indiana Jones isn't as popular today as it was even 10, 15 years ago. I think that was a generational thing. I mean, Harrison being back was a good deal for the movie, but I mean, who else are you going to have as Indiana Jones? I think it's just apples and oranges comparing Indy 5 to Solo, a Star Wars story. I haven't even seen all the Indiana Jones movies, but I've seen the reception of Indiana Jones 5, and a big common critique of it is like this movie came out too late. The interest of Indy has kind of faded out over the past couple of years, especially since what was the fourth one? Crystal Skull?
Yeah, Crystal Skull. That one made over $1 billion though.
No, it did not. It made like 700 million.
In today's dollars, it made
adjusted for inflation.
Well, you have to adjust for inflation if you're going to compare it to.
No, you don't.
If in the past 10
I disagree.
years, you don't. Well, actually,
and a loaf of bread's gone up triple in the last 3 years. What's your point? Let's.
Yeah, it made 800 million.
Joe Biden. God damn it! All right. Well, so none of us are happy about this, right? None of us are happy.
It's okay. I agree. If this is a theatrical film, no fucking way this actually gets made. I mean, come on. But I
again, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say I am more accepting after my rage with Goldman's idea of this being like a 1.5 hour special presentation. I also agree with only that really would feel like kind of what are we doing here,
Yeah, and I think, and just not to give anyone a wrong misconception, is I don't think any of us here dislike Lando the character or don't want to see Lando.
No, and I also think Donald was perfect as the character.
Yeah, he's great. I think it's more of a matter of the health of Star Wars as a franchise, and it's like you should be concentrating on major storylines right now, and get back the faith, or if not, get back the faith of old fans. Build a new fan base, make the IP healthy again. And if the IP is healthy and you got people coming in to do those $1 billion or just under $1 billion movies for the big stories, then you start putting out these other ones. You got to get the good faith first. So I think for me, it's more about the timing. And this is not the time to do this movie. It's a bad idea when you should be concentrating on the big stories and then worry about those little ones later.
Wonderfully said.
Yeah, 100% agree. But someone did make a comment. They did say, they were like, well, they are still doing those big stories. I'm like, yeah, but you're missing the point. It's like the point
Your
is
first big movie after Rise of
this.
Skywalker is Lando.
Well, I highly doubt
think
this will be
about
the
just
first one.
think about that.
If they did that,
Think about
I mean,
that.
Oh my god!
Can we, while we're on this, real quick, because this is rumor. It supposedly they're supposed to start principal photography for the Rey movie in April of next year. Just a rumor. So based on that, if that is true, I can see the Rey movie coming out in 2026, more than likely December of 2026. So I don't think the Lando movie is gonna come out first. I don't think that'll be the first one.
No, and I think the official release date right now for the first of the new Star Wars movies is May of 26. Because they said May of 26 and then December of 26 and then December of 27.
Yeah.
That's gonna get
don't listen to that because that's just the Disney slate calendar shit that they literally.
Okay, but true. It probably will get moved. I hope they go back to December. I thought just December.
I agree. December's great.
But for now, it's the official.
We still have no idea. There's nothing on the horizon for the writers or actors strike ending yet. We don't even know how long this is going to go on.
Today some stuff came out. They're going to actually be negotiating, but they use a different word. What word did they use only? There was a different word that Iger and them basically corroborated on.
I've seen tweets that are like they met today and there's optimism.
Well, at least I don't feel too out of loop. It wasn't like it was like last week. It was like
no, they didn't.
This morning at 10 a.m.
The strike is still going on, but there's a better chance tomorrow than any we've had that the strike will end tomorrow. Not saying it's a great chance, but a better chance tomorrow.
That would be really nice. But that would be good.
I completely forgot about this too. Skeleton Crew. I
got delayed again.
In a droid story. I have not heard.
Droid story has never come. Okay, but they've actually.
What now? Was this Skeleton Crew doing? Yeah,
they
were filming for that.
It's done.
They showed
production.
They've showed footage at Star Wars Celebration. That's like happening. A droid story. It's never gonna hear.
They showed a picture at Star Wars Celebration and then one concept art. Let's get that straight.
Didn't they show like actual footage this
past? No, they showed a picture and it looked terrible. It looked like a really low resolution picture, and then they showed a concept art. What they showed most was the Acolyte. So Skeleton Crew originally was supposed to come out fall of this year. According to Bespin Bulletin, who I'm sure you guys can agree is one of the most reputable sources for Star Wars, they recently came out a couple weeks ago. Skeleton Crew has been delayed at the closest early next year, so Q1 of next year, but it more than likely will get delayed even farther than that. But if these strikes do end tomorrow, I can see Skeleton Crew coming out February or March of next year, and then Acolyte's going to be end of year next year.
Yeah, they need something because it's not the end of the world to have a content gap. I actually think it's pretty good for us to have some time in between shows and movies and all that stuff. But we can't have like another year of like nothing content. Like, what was that one year that like Star Wars Visions came out and there was like literally nothing almost all year?
2021
that
came out.
I think it was 2021.
Yeah,
like the Bad Batch. That was it. And they have shown footage of Skeleton Crew. Like I'm watching some of the leaked footage on YouTube.
Oh, did they really? Okay, never mind. I take that back. My mistake.
Right. One last super chat from Lord Baratheon. I also think doing a film that's building off Mandoverse show is a bad idea since how much of the general audience has seen these shows.
Yeah,
I was about to say like
you mean a lot.
At least Mandalorian seasons 1, 2, and even 3, like those are very, very popular. Ahsoka,
got a lot of viewership.
Ahsoka was up there. Ahsoka's the only show that we have the official Disney numbers, which is 14 million.
Was up there though. It was tied with Andor, which was lowest.
No. That's a huge misconception. It's tied with Andor based on Samba numbers. Samba numbers are highly, highly filtered. So that's why it was very clear that is why Disney came out or Lucasfilm came out and said, "Oh, good, thanks to Ahsoka fans for watching 14 million of you." It's because the Samba numbers made it look really, really bad when it was.
The Samba numbers is just comparing its numbers to its old numbers.
It is. So, I mean, there's a lot more factors to it, though.
I'm sure, but still, like, I'm not going to take Lucasfilm's word for it when they're doing the same measurement that they do for Netflix, which is just the
Streaming
not
minutes.
viewers,
Yeah.
it's just the views and everything. So
Well,
don't
I
think
look
so.
at it this way. I mean, both numbers are kind of skewed either way,
Mhm.
and
Yes,
mostly because
absolutely.
Disney's going to skew their numbers. They all do, to be off the bat.
Agreed.
But the other thing is that they specifically call it views. Okay, it's like YouTube. Like you could have, a million views on a video that's 20 minutes long, but if only people watch 2 minutes of the video, those views don't mean anything.
Yes.
The hours, the watch time is what matters.
Or it's
And-
kind of like Twitter, where they say Twitter, like, oh, Tucker Carlson has the biggest show
Oh my
ever.
gosh,
Okay,
that shit
but
pissed me
Twitter
off.
counts a view as you just hovering over it. For
We're
a
just
second.
seeing
Quote
the point here.
tweeting counts as a view. If you see a quote tweet on it,
Oh shit! I didn't know
The
that.
point is whether these shows have views or not, like they're still relatively popular. Like Grogu's the most popular thing to come out of Disney Star Wars.
Yes.
So to say that
It was a
doesn't have an audience-
phenomenon. And
Yeah.
for to say I think it's a bad idea, I'm telling you, they market a movie and show Grogu as part of that movie.
that's why Grogu's. Hey,
you're gonna have all these general fans that can't even pronounce
What?
the name Luke Skywalker coming to watch it just because
Oh, do you know how many white moms are going to be in the theater day
Yep.
one?
No, Lunga.
Yep.
This
Star
is
Wars
why when the Rey Skywalker New Jedi Order Legacy of the Jedi trailer comes out, it's going to open up. You're going to hear some forestry sounds, and it's going to
Who?
open up with Rey running
Who?
around in a freaking older Grogu.
Who?
Ray
Ray.
Skywalker,
Ray.
Jedi Master,
Shall I-
Master Skywalker,
Who?
Master Skywalker.
Jedi Master
He's dead.
Skywalker,
Oh, I
the
guess you didn't
chosen
watch
one,
last
time.
the chosen one, Lunga.
All right, that's too far.
He's dead too.
Too far. I know.
Anyway,
You're right.
anyway,
I love Anakin, so I shouldn't do that.
outside of any character that was introduced in the original trilogy, no one has more marketing potential than Grogu. That includes anyone in the prequels, includes anyone in
Why he's
sequels
going to be in the right
especially.
movie? I've been telling
100%.
people this.
This
Yeah,
is
no,
pissed
for
off
sure.
people, but if they had like a movie with Hayden Christensen as Anakin or Grogu, the Grogu one would be more popular.
No,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's so weird.
And
to me,
just
like,
because, not because of Star Wars fans, just because of general audience. It was a phenomenon.
Yeah,
my
absolutely.
wife is not a Star Wars fan in any sense of the fucking word. She sat there and watched all of fucking Mandalorian with me because she's like, baby yo-yo, baby yo-yo, baby yo-yo. That's all she gave a shit about.
I've spoken to a woman at work that had like a Grogu, I forgot what it was, like some sort of merch, and she said she hadn't even watched the shows. She just thought Grogu was cute.
Oh, it reminds me of like the band T-shirts. People
Minions
just
kind of
wear the Def Leppard shirt because it looks cool. And it's a thing that they know is popular. I mean, I'm fine with it because it brings the band more
you had to bring up
popularity.
Def Leppard. That was my ex-wife's favorite. You don't understand how much Def Leppard I listened to when I was married. That was my
Nirvana.
wife's
That's a great
favorite
Nirvana.
band,
band.
though.
I had to
Great
drive her
band.
to concerts. And she, oh
Hey,
my
they're
God.
great live, Lunga. They are good live.
Awesome sugar. I mean, you don't know
That's
how.
their
Of
worst
course,
song.
they got a
Roll
one.
in the
They have a
name of
one arm.
love.
They have a one arm drummer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, thanks for singing their worst song. It's
kind of their
kind of
most
discredits them.
popular
No,
song.
it's
to be
most
honest.
popular, it's the
What are you
worst
talking
song.
about?
Okay.
Dude, Hysteria,
so good.
Love
bring it
Bites,
up there,
man,
like-
come on.
You want Love Bites? Yeah. Photograph. You want me to talk
Come
about
on.
this thing when Let It Hang
Photograph.
Glide?
Rock
You
of
know,
Ages.
there's-
That's
there's-
an amazing episode.
Yes.
amazing
I know I'm
song.
young Lunga, but I was raised somewhat right. All right.
I've never heard of this band.
Goldman
You've
has it.
never heard of Def
Of course
Leppard?
you don't. You got
Def
you
Leppard?
have a
Never
fucking
heard.
giant's penis in the
No,
background. Of
never-
course you
never
didn't
heard
hear
of
about it.
Oh my God. I will admit, Lunga, I do feel old nowadays because when I talk to people my age, like even at work and all this other stuff, and they're like, who's your favorite band? I'm like, oh, Hall and Oates and everything. They're like, who? I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of here.
My kids, like I said, my two little ones are 25 and 24. They're right around it, and because of my ex-wife and me, they know all of these fucking bands. They know all of
culture.
them.
I don't know the other one.
Well, I'm sorry, Lunga, for bringing that up. I could have done Nirvana or whatever, but my point stands. I think we're in agreement that Grogu sells, and
Yes.
the white
Yes.
mom ticket sales will probably be a whole section of $1 billion on
Yes.
its own.
Yes.
So Grogu and the Rey
unless
movie
their,
confirmed,
unless their
right?
name is that Star Wars girl, then they won't go see it.
No, she'll still go. She'll go see it. That's what these people do.
Gotta get the hate.
Come on, man.
I don't want.
I mean, she had a whole calendar Kickstarter.
Oh,
You-
I
you
know
didn't-
someone
you
that did
didn't
buy
back-
it. I know someone in real life that bought her calendar. I'm not
It's
even
a
joking.
calendar that came out the year later.
Oh God.
Guys, I've been thinking about making a calendar. Would you buy my calendar if I wore like a Speedo?
Is it going to have
I'd
that big
If it
ass
was in the
penis cut
correct
out on
year,
it?
then yeah.
There'd be a giant bulge there, so probably.
Good. Wait, is that girl though? Is she from the Geeks and Gamers crew?
I don't know if
is she
she's-
from-
Comics
it's funny
Cage,
'cause
and it's Yeah.
Because actually, I think I met her one time when I was at Celebration because I was hanging out with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and he was walking me around the convention center. Was like, I want you to meet this girl. I was like, who? He's like, that Star Wars girl. I was like, that doesn't fucking specify for me at all, Jeremy. And he was like, oh, it's this girl. She's an artist and everything.
You just mentioned the last 8 girls I had sex with. Thanks.
Yeah,
8? That's generous.
who the fuck?
Generous.
Yeah. That's calling it a low number for me. No, I'm playing. I'm not a man. All right. Well, this is a good time to end the stream before we get copyright claims and sexual assault notices for talking about women. Trying to find the end stream.
Women.
Make sure you actually end the stream this time.
Chatooine,
Make sure.
Last week's was quite fun. So thank you guys for watching. By the way, Chatooine, the official YouTube channel, is now at 401 subscribers. So thank you guys. If you're watching this on the Star Wars only channel, shut the fuck up, Palp Names. If you're watching this on the Star Wars only channel right now, we will be deleting the stream immediately after it's uploaded, so you can only watch the stream on Chatooine, the official Star Wars channel for Chatooine. Palp Names, what were you going to say, please, by all means?
I was going to congratulate the Chatooine show on hitting 400 subscribers, and today my channel also hit 2,000 subscribers. That's all I was going to say.
Yay,
so thank you. Thank you to all my
congratulations.
supporters. Thank you.
Unsubscribe from his channel as soon as possible.
Yeah, probably. You probably should.
All right. Thank you guys.
My channel's been dead for 1.5 years, so there you go.
So is mine. I mean, we're all the same.
I'm back, everyone.
I'm back,
I'm doing
and then I'm gone. Look, I was homeless. All right, I had shit to do. All right,
You had a good reason.
Let's end the stream.
Yeah. All right. So thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Discord, MySpace, and add us to your Hotmail account. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time. May the Force be with you.
Wow.